Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is Mark Foreman, host of A Connector. 大家好，我是方马克，A Connector 的主持人. So that was just my greeting in Mandarin Chinese to those of you that recognize it or speak it. Some of you may have seen the last episode that we did. We were basically sharing on some of the differences between Taiwan and China. Basically, there's areas of commonality in history and culture, politically, not for a long time. And it's kind of a long, convoluted, complicated history, and particularly because there's so many different names thrown around that kind of sound similar or might have China in it. So, yeah, we basically cover that. I also mentioned that what we're doing going forward and starting today, I'm going to be using there's an ETF called EWT. An ETF, for those of you that don't know, is an exchange traded fund. It's kind of like a mutual fund, but it is not a mutual fund. I'm not selling it. I'm not suggesting any security or stock as an investment. I'm simply sharing this for the sake of information and entertainment. The reason I'm choosing to do it this way is because the EWF fund has basically all the key industrial companies in Taiwan. I should say the majority of them. Some of the most well-known ones, like Taiwan Semiconductor, that many of you do know, maybe Foxconn and others, Giant Bicycle, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I thought we'd do is go through that, and because all of these companies are covered in that fund, it gives us an opportunity to let you realize economically kind of, where Taiwan is and what they're doing, and also to differentiate between some similar Chinese companies, because like I said, it's very confusing. So hopefully here I will be enlightening, shedding some more clarity on the whole Taiwan China difference. Okay, so here you can see in this article, it started back, well, I'd say probably in the 60s, and the term that was used back then to talk about four countries, the four little dragons. And you can see here it says four little dragons, spread of industrialization in East Asia. So clearly in this, they're referring to Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Obviously, these four nations took off after Japan had already exploded. Their export economy had grown significantly, and then it got to be the turn of some of these other nations. Now, Taiwan, we mentioned last time, was colonized by Japan for a period of about 100 years. South Korea, historically, I guess Korea was not a colony of China, but certainly like a tributary. Hong Kong was a colony of Great Britain and has already reverted to the Chinese, to mainland China or the People's Republic of China. And Singapore, which initially was a state in Malaya. Now, what Malaya is, Malaya was also a British colony. And once Singapore got independence from Malaya, and Malaya got independence from Britain, then Singapore was still Singapore. It was independent nation state, and Malaya became Malaysia. Okay, so basically at this period of time, it all started where Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore were all pretty much on an equal footing. And here's one thing I think that's worth mentioning. Down here, you'll see the term Confucian. Okay, the Confucian tradition. So I'd say that the key in talking about that is in East Asia, because basically China was the historically the big influential power culturally in the East Asian region. For that matter, for those of you that are familiar with Japan and Japanese, there are several Japanese character systems. One of them is called kanji, and kanji is literally Hanzi, which is basically the Chinese characters. So when you see Japanese written and it looks just like Chinese, that's because basically it is. They're using the Chinese characters to express the meaning of the word. And so Confucius, of course, was the scholar model. He was a very philosophical man. He established the traditions of leadership and hierarchy, and hence East Asian nations, their culture tends to be very hierarchical. And from the top down, the emperor to the official, official to the common person, father to the child, older brother to younger brother, et cetera, et cetera. And so all of these nations do have a Confucian tradition, except, well, in Malaysia, there's a sizable Chinese population. Actually, a lot of the manufacturing in the early days, and even till now, is probably done by Chinese immigrants in Malaysia. On that note, the immigration thing, the overwhelming majority of immigration from China would be from Guangdong, which is the southern province of China, which is just right next to Hong Kong, where Shenzhen and Guangzhou are. Then you have Fujian, which is just west of Taiwan, and where many of the Taiwanese settlers came from several hundred years back, several generations back. And then also a number also come from Hainan, which is a big island, about the same size as Taiwan, but different shape, kind of rounder. And it's directly below Guangdong, just above Southeast Asia, getting over towards Burma in that way. And so that's where you have the lion's share of immigrants. So all throughout Southeast Asia, when you have a lot of Chinese immigrants, they're probably from one of those areas. So in Singapore and in Malaysia, most of the Chinese people probably speak some of all of those different dialects. So it could be Taiwanese or Minanhua, or it could be Cantonese. And Hainan also speaks Cantonese, and there's one other. It's called Hakka, which is in Mandarin is called Kejia, and those people originally are from central China, but they emigrated gradually down from central China to southern China, and a lot of them are in business. And for that matter, it's my understanding in Singapore that they kind of dominate the political scene there, and so many people call the Hakka kind of like the Jews of the Chinese, because they tend to be very clannish, and they've encountered a lot of difficulty from locals, or because they're a minority, and so they tend to work more together, and they tend to gravitate towards politics and business. And so a lot of the famous political leaders in Greater China are Hakka people. And anyway, okay, so that gives you some more background. So now let's get to the current matter at hand, which is talking about this. Again, I am not paid. I'm not sponsored by BlackRock or iShares on this. It is simply to help serve my purpose on what I want to talk about. So basically, this is the Taiwan EWT. So it says why EWT. It's an exposure to large and mid-sized companies in Taiwan. Okay, targeted access to the Taiwanese stock market, and it's used to express a single country view. So basically, 100% of the companies in this fund are Taiwanese. Okay, here's some of the key facts you could see. This was the inception date was back in June 20th of 2000. So that would make the fund about 21 years old now, almost to the day, just a little bit more, a little bit longer. The net assets of the fund are $7,405,162,029 US, of course. And let's see. Right now, as of today, the closing price is $63.74. And what other key information there? Okay, number of holdings, there are 90 companies that are in the fund. And then you have some of the sustainability characteristics. A key point here, they have an ESG quality score 7.7 of a possible 10, so it's obviously fairly high. Um, and okay, I think that's pretty much all the information that I care to share from that portion. What I'd like to go ahead and do is take a look at some of the holdings. And so let's get over. Okay, so why don't we start out with the first holding? You can see here is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. Now, let me just say, if you see to the left, you see the number 2330 under the ticker. What this is the fund, the individual stocks that make up this fund are from the Taiwan Stock Exchange. So that basically then that would make them an OTC or over the counter traded security like in the US or Europe or outside of Taiwan. And so therefore the OTC numbers are numbers, they're not names. Okay. Now, I believe that Taiwan Semiconductor and some of them might in fact also be on some foreign exchanges, like I believe Taiwan Semiconductor is in the Nasdaq, if I'm not mistaken, and so then it would be TSM, I believe that's a ticker. But many of these stocks are in the Taiwan Stock Exchange, but on the Nasdaq, you can buy shares of this EWT ETF, and that would give you exposure to all of the different names. So let me just go down the list real quick. I'll go with the top 10 for now, just to give you an idea. So you have Taiwan Semiconductor, of course. They do semiconductors. I mean, chips are in the news every day, a major shortage. This is, if not the leading manufacturer, one of them. They have, obviously, they're based in Taiwan. They have factories in Taiwan. They have fab in China. They're working on some in the US right now, and I guess they're even talking about maybe doing one in Europe. The next one you can see here is Honghai Precision Industry. That is basically the parent company of Foxconn, the OEM producer, assembler of many of the iPhones and many other computer components and accessories. Okay, and then you have MediaTek. Then you have United Microelectronics. Now, most of these, again, they're all in something chip related over here. Then you have Delta Electronics. Then you have actually a financial. You have Fubon Financial Holding. So they're a banking group, securities trading, etc. Then you have Nanya, and so Nanya has many related companies, and so they're without a doubt they're the leader in the Taiwan plastic resin, plastic materials, synthetic fiber, etc. And as far as I know, they're like the number one producer of plastic bags in the United States. So they have holdings all over the world. And again, yeah, they're just, resin, paints, you name it, all kinds of plastic materials. And yeah. Okay, then you have the China Steel Corp. Then you have Evergreen Marine. So Evergreen Marine is the largest shipping company in Taiwan. Then you have Cathay Financial Holdings, again, banking, finance. Okay, we'll go to the next 10. Ace Technology Holding, also in the microprocessors. Zhonghua Telecom was originally government telephone company. Now it's, I believe, semi-public. Formosa Plastic, again, this is a sister company, part of the corporate group of Nanyang. And then you have CTBC Financial Holding, Mega Financial Holding, Uni-President. Now, Uni-President, they're huge here in Taiwan. Basically, they're primarily a food group. They are the agent for 7-Eleven. And for those of you that haven't ever visited Taiwan, if you've been in a 7-Eleven in the US, they're related. They're both called 7-Eleven and they kind of look alike. But one of the things that's insane and great about Taiwan 7-Eleven is that you could do anything there. You can do banking there. You could arrange to have packages sent there and pick them up there and just, pay collect. You can buy railroad tickets. You can pay your bills, all kinds of different services, which of course get a lot more traffic in the stores, which produce to a lot of sales. So I think there's some of the most profitable 7-Elevens in the world, if not the most profitable. So Uni President represents them. They also are the agent for Carrefour, the large French, what do you call that? Not warehouse store, but anyhow, kind of a superstore, like a supermarket department store. I'm missing the correct word on that one. Then they also have their own branded convenience stores. They do call the President stores, although much less of them now. And they tend to represent some of the major food branded items. So they're almost, you could almost say that if it's something to do with food or processed food product and or the resale of them, they've got their hand in it. Then you have Silergy Corp, again, information technology, Novatech microelectronics, and here, of course, you can see the weight. Now, when you talk about a fund and weighting, it just means the size. So obviously, getting back to the first page, we had Taiwan Semiconductor, and the weighting on that was 21.34. So of the entire fund of 90 companies, Taiwan Semiconductors, the holding in their stock is good for 21.34% of the entire fund. Okay, so basically, this is kind of like Snow White and the 89 Dwarfs, because you can see all these other funds are basically 1% and change. Okay, so we were just down to Synergy, the Novatech, Chalice Holding, Financial Equity, ESUN Financial Holding. So basically, what I wanted to do was want to basically introduce this. What I'll do next week is I will go ahead and start to present some of the individual companies within this fund, because some of them inevitably you've heard about, but maybe give you a little bit more detailed information, some of the key details. They can explain a little bit more about them, what they're doing, how they're doing things. And we could also try to, getting into this, try to find some news that might be helpful. And that's what the future will entail for this series. So on that note, I think for today, we will end here. And then we will continue next time with TSM or Taiwan Semiconductor, and do a little bit more deep diving into them. So I want to thank you for your time, and we will see you very shortly. So have a good day.